Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Playeasy Warmup, the podcast where we dive into the stories, people, and places driving the sporting event and tourism industry forward. I'm your host, Kerri Shields. Some people see sports as a game, and others see them as a platform to create energy, spark connection, and turn ordinary places into unforgettable experiences. Today's guest has built a career doing exactly that. Joining us today is Micah Desforges, founder of Tribu, the team behind some of the most innovative action sports and lifestyle events in North America, now across the world, including Jackalope. What I really appreciate about Micah is the way he thinks bigger than the event itself. He understands that great experiences are about emotion, culture, atmosphere, and giving people something that they'll remember long after the weekend ends. From a backyard snowboarding event to building large scale festivals that blend sport, music, lifestyle, and community, Micah has created a brand that feels fresh, feels authentic, and built for where sports culture is headed. Today, we'll talk about the Tribu journey, the growth of Jackalope, what experiential marketing really looks like when it's done right, how destinations can become true partners, and why community remains at the center of everything they build. If you care about sports, events, fan engagement, destination strategy, or creating moments that matter, this is a conversation that you're going to enjoy. Before we jump in, if you want to feel the vibes and the energy behind what Micah and his team are building, check out this video to tee up our conversation.
It's 10:13. You're still rigging. And Tribu's making it happen.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Playeasy Innovators Summit, happening this summer, June 15th through 17th, 2026, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, at the Vanguard Ann Arbor. The Innovators Summit is Playeasy's annual gathering of destination leaders, event organizers, and industry partners. 3 days of hands-on innovation, real conversations, and practical ideas you can bring back to your community. Ann Arbor is a city that knows sports and knows how to host. Just 20 minutes from the airport, it's easy to get to and get around, with top-tier sports facilities, a walkable downtown, and 400-plus restaurants perfect for connecting outside of sessions. Between meetings, take in the energy of the University of Michigan, explore the Huron River, and be sure to stay for a private tour of the Big House on our final evening together. If you're thinking about innovation, technology, and what's next for hosting, we'd love to see you in Ann Arbor this June. Micah, welcome to the Playeasy Warmup podcast.
Thanks, Kerri. It's stoked to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for this conversation. And so let's start from the beginning. What first pulled you into the world of sports and action sports specifically?
When I was a kid, back in '99, I saw on my square TV in the middle of nowhere. I was living on a dirt road 3 hour north of Montreal, and I saw on TV during X Game '99 Tony Hawk do his famous 900, which is 2 rotation and a half, legendary moment in sports TV. At the time, I was blessed to have access to content that's pre-internet, that we didn't have cable. We had like a satellite dish with a signal. And that moment basically sparked a journey where I started a skateboard brand called Ripper Skateboards, where I was selling skate decks to shops. And eventually that skate brand led to parties at my places, event production, and eventually out of a dare, someone during one of those parties said, I dare you to do those party bigger. It eventually led to what is now called Jackalope. And the full circle was we eventually hosted Tony Hawk at Jackalope a couple times. So it was really full circle to see that young kid in myself that saw Tony on TV, inspired a whole journey, and a few decades later, saw the man in person perform at our event. It was pretty
Oh,
iconic.
that's incredible. Isn't it crazy how a sports moment and a specific moment can really influence the rest of your life? I feel that deeply. I was a basketball player, and so I can remember going to I think it was the 2002 women's Final Four in Philadelphia, and being able to see women play sports at that big stage has made such an impact on the rest of my life. Just a few years later, but and so your origin story is pretty incredible. It started with a backyard snowboarding event, if I'm correct. And so take us back to that moment. What were you thinking, and how did something that scrappy eventually become what it is today?
So I grew up in the countryside, 3 hours north of Montreal as a kid. I studied in Sherbrooke City, which is again kind of far from Montreal, where I'm currently based. But as I grew up and then after I studied, we were, piling people in an apartment, from 6 to 8 people living in a space, and it was kind of an incubator of good times, parties, and event production. At the time, I didn't have a business. That was just, a bunch of friends doing young adult stuff. But out of one of the specific party, in 2009, we've built a snow park in my backyard. So we brought snow from the Zambonis, from the ice rink. We shoveled in a pickup.
Wow.
We've rented a spa, a 12 people spa. We had a snowboard contest basically in my backyard in 2009. And it was a blast. 100 people showed up. There was not a
Yeah.
company at the time. It was just, a bunch of friends having fun. But I had some sponsor. I had some banners, and I had the neighbors sipping wine on
Yeah.
their balcony. So like parents were like it's a residential neighborhood in Montreal. Parents were dropping their kids. Hey, ding ding dong, is it here to snowboard contest? So
Yeah.
fast forward to the next day, everyone's like kind of hangover, and there's people sleeping everywhere in the place. And I'll remember for the rest of my life, there's a friend that told me, I dare you to do it bigger next year. So then I just started to knock on some people's door and see if I could rent their backyard for a bigger snowboard competition. People were looking at me like if I was crazy. Do you want to rent our backyard for a snowboard contest? Like, what are you talking? So that's 2009. Then I eventually landed a public space in the downtown Montreal setting. That event kind of grew and grew and evolved into now what is called APIC, APIK. And it's an urban rail jam that we do in Mississauga. It's a 25,000 people. It's $100,000 cash prize. And everything started out of it there.
That's crazy. And I mean, we'll have seen a video of one of your events previous to this conversation, and you could feel. I mean, it's funny hearing just about a backyard party and how much fun it's a party. It sounds like I would want to attend, but it's still you get that same vibe, that fun electric event experience that you have. And I think that's something that you said before. You've talked about creating experience that really make people feel alive. It's a pretty powerful North Star for a business. And so where does that come from you personally?
So I've always kind of felt that life is so routine, and I want to challenge, status quo personally. Like, yeah, we're all comfortable in our routine. You go to work, we have our own sets of, comfort zones. But at some point, like, there's got to be this moment that kind of that helps us feel the experience of being alive, if that makes sense. So for us and for me personally, I think a good sign that something is pretty unique and something magical is happening is when the crowd pulls up their phone in the air and they're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, and they want to capture it. They want to live it too, but through their phone, they're kind of making a statement. This is special. Like, I want to remember this, not just personally, but also I want to remember it to share and promote it. So over the years, I kind of felt that boredom, it was kind of on the rise. Personally, I saw myself, kind of going through a pretty 9 to 5 typical job, working in a cubicle and eventually I was like living for the weekends, I felt drained energy wise. Like I was just kind of giving away my energy, my creativity for a paycheck. And then the next Monday I had to do it again and again. So I started the business with the sole purpose to really kind of connect the youth and inspire the youth or the young at heart. So it's not based just for youth, but it's for everyone who want to, get inspirational adrenaline dose. And Tribu, the name of the company, is really what means tribe in English. Is about connecting, gathering, and helping people feel alive by experiencing something they never saw before. So if you look at our portfolio, from base jumping from the Olympic Tower, Tony Hawk's vert competition or vert demo in Virginia Beach on the ocean front, at the ocean front, snowmobiles in a downtown setting doing backflips with, street closures and whatnot, urban ski. And so we try to create something that you would not expect in in a context. And we want people to be like, whoa, what's going on, and hopefully that transcend into inspiring them that everything's possible. I think that's the message behind the story is like, I started my humble journey because of a piece of content, like a less than a minute clip. And here we are, talking about it still 20, 30 years later. At that point, I think everyone have a lot of issues and challenges personally. And I want, them to feel that they can overcome those challenges, whatever they are, whatever they are. So if they can see, a kid doing a crazy stunt or someone performing on a bigger stage, since all of our events are free and accessible, our hope is that people come, they see something spectacular, and then they go on with their own lives, their own challenge, and they have a dose of inspiration to keep moving. And that's kind of the longer version of how how and why we do things.
I love it, and I love that message. I think I'm a big concert goer, and so I sometimes describe to people why I love concerts so much is that it just makes me feel alive. It makes me like really feel something in that moment, and so I totally understand, and you can tell from a lot of the content that you guys push. It's just a fun environment to be around, and so for anyone listening who isn't familiar with Tribute yet, how would you describe what you've built?
Yeah, great point. Like the business is Tribu is based out of, tribal instinct. So feeling alive, the Tribu means tribe. And you're referring to music concert. When you go to a music concert, you can kind of feel the artist because of the sound that's kind of waving through, like, even if you're behind the fence or you're behind like thousands of people, the energy that the artist through the sound system basically transcend the crowd. And basically we as the crowd vibrates and we vibe with the artist, and that creates kind of a cycle of energy flow. And usually if it's your favorite artist and you're having a blast and you're literally connected by energy waves through sound, you're entranced, right? Sports is a bit different because there's no sound component that much from that perspective, but we've always kind of believed that the power of adrenaline is really what kind of gets people on the edge and excited and stressed and worried. And these are the highs and the lows of every event that we do. So in a nutshell, Tribu is an event company that is based out of Montreal with 20 staff full time, producing events in Canada and the US and also in Australia, with its own portfolio of brands in the action sports world. So we do 10 events a year, and we have our own IPs, and it's been 15 years. Fun journey.
That's just, and one of those brands is Jackalope, and it's become one of the most recognized action sports festivals in North America. What was the original vision for that, and does it still match to what it's become today?
Jackalope has really kind of succeed its original mood board. Like I remember back in I think 2010, I was still early days in my humble career and went to a Chamber of Commerce meeting in the middle of February. There was like a huge snowstorm in Montreal, but I had a hinge that I had to go to this meeting because at the time the Olympic Park in Montreal, so we had the Olympics in 76. It's now 50 years, but that stadium since 76 was empty. Nothing was happening post Olympic Games in 76 in Montreal with the space itself. Beautiful landmark, beautiful, iconic stadium, but nothing was happening. Here comes the new CEO, guy that was also managing a space in Seattle. His name is David Ertel. New CEO is speaking at that Chamber of Commerce in the middle of winter, February 2010, sorry. And then I had a hunch that I had to go and meet that guy. And
Okay.
I met the guy, had a pretty cool conversation, had my hat, and I was just like, "Do you think there'd be a space for a festival with skateboarding?" He said, "Maybe." So I brought like a physical mood board, like a piece of wood with like skateboard magazine kind of attached to it. I brought that physical mood board to a team meeting. They loved it. And the rest is history now, like from 2012 to now, 14 years running. And next year is going to be our 15th anniversary for Jackalope. We have 5 events, Montreal, where's the OG one. And then there's Mississauga, Virginia Beach, our home in the US. We're launching in Ventura, California in 3 weeks. And we're also in Newcastle, Australia. So the goal is to get from 5 events to maybe 10 plus events globally and really be kind of a showcase for some of the underdogs in skateboarding and other action sports we represent. Plus, also celebrate the Olympians, some of the legends in the sports. All our Jackalope events are free to the public, so no ticket needed. And they're funded thanks to our host partners and destination, plus our corporate partners, of course.
Well, congratulations, because I know how much work goes into just years of building something from the ground up. And so just the behind the scenes, I'm sure it hasn't been an easy journey, but it seems as you guys, there's no stopping anytime soon. But from your events don't just showcase sport, and you mentioned the free aspect as well, but they also weave in the music and lifestyle and culture. Why has that been intentional as a formula, and why does it matter to really get it right?
It's definitely like a core pillar of what we've been doing since the beginning. Like we were always kind of a festival vibe of a competition. So yes, there's a competitive aspect of each of our event. There's a cash prize, there's pressure, but it's always about good times. And all our events being free, it welcomes and everyone's from all walks of life. For some of them, it introduce what skateboarding means or what action sports mean. We always have DJs, live music, beer gardens and food trucks, vendors, activation, after parties, you name it. But I think for us, it's really about we want people to come and feel welcome and feel loved. So an example of that is every festival we end the last song that the DJ plays is a love song. So the whole weekend is kind of a party vibe. We want people to be dancing, having good times. But the last song that plays on the Sunday is kind of a slow song, like when you were like dancing when we were
Okay.
kids. But because we want people to come for the awards and jump on the skate park and be able to jump the fence. They're not just spectators, they're festival goers, and they're part of a community that we are calling our Jackalope tribe, our Jackalope crew. And everyone's part of the crew. It's free. Come and enjoy.
Okay.
Whether you're a host partner, you're a vendor, you're a sponsor, you're a staff, a volunteer, you're just walking by, you are welcome at the Jackalopes events and being part of the Jackalope crew. So the last song that we play to emphasize that part is a slow love song, because typically what happens is lots of action, adrenaline, after parties, good times. Some maybe, hopefully not too many injuries, but some injuries happen. It's the drama. And then the big finale. Now we're at the podium moments. Everyone's excited. There's money on the line. Everyone's celebrating. And then here comes the champagne shower, like champagne over everyone. And then last song is like, it's not over yet, but it's over for now. So it's kind of everyone's hugging each other, having a good time. But it's not just the production, the staff that's just, on stage. Hey, good job. See you later. We have sponsors, host partners, media, fans, random people who just walked in and want to jump on a skate park and be part of it. And I think that's really the message, that everyone can feel welcome to what we do. And that's why the event, in my mind, needs to say free and accessible to introduce or reintroduce the magic of action sports.
Yeah. That's awesome. That makes me emotional. Is it the same slow song every time?
No, No, we try to mix it up, but we got a few classic. But it's kind of fun because, as you know, when you and everyone who's listening, you've put so much energy into an event, right? Like from
Yeah.
months or years in some matter. Then here comes the end, and sometimes that the weekend goes by so fast, and you're like, oh, what just happened? And if you're in
Yeah.
this business for a while, you probably have that fix that you need another one to kind of keep going. So you're like, okay, this one's finished, but I got another one. So you kind of go through roller coasters of emotions. But for the majority of people who don't work in the industry, for them it's maybe their
Mhm.
holiday and it's their highlight. Some people came to us many, many times and said that was the best day of my life and best
Yeah.
weekend of my life. And once you've heard that a few times, you start capturing the essence that what we're doing as an industry, as a community, or as a business is powerful and sometimes
Yeah.
beyond what we can imagine because, again, like I said earlier, people are going through crazy stuff. They have their own issues, their own challenge, their own mental games, their own barrier. Maybe for a moment, they've paused everything, all that noise, and could
Yeah.
enjoy something really cool, something pure, something authentic. They felt welcome, loved, and they felt that they belong. And I think that's the spirit of what Jackalope is all about. Yes, it's action sports. Yes, it's skateboarding. It's adrenaline, but it's more about welcoming everyone and giving a bigger gift, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And community. I think it's a big
Yeah.
part of most of the organizations that I talk to, just the importance of making people feel welcome and really building that community, which is awesome. And so you guys are also in growth mode right now. I believe you have 4 open RFPs on Playeasy right now, which tells me you guys are in serious growth mode. And so what is fueling that expansion and what does your ideal next market actually look like?
Totally in growth mode. I've been doing it
Yeah.
for 15 years now, and the
Yeah.
pandemic kind of slowed everyone in the industry in some regards. Right now, we feel that we are ready to take on the international market and more especially the North American market. So we have an event in both coasts, so California and Ventura and Virginia Beach and in the East Coast. And we have also other brands, like our APIC brand is one of the RFP. It's a ski and snowboard rail jam that we would love to bring to some of the other cities and the communities that want to celebrate winter. We have Barbara Gazi, which means frozen beard. It's kind of a blue Yeti, and it's an urban snowmobile show, which is pretty unique that could be tapped into an existing winter festival. We have another concept that we're working on, but Jackalope and Jackalope block parties are the bigger, I would say, properties and focus of the business. For any city that have a skate park and maybe never knew what to do with it, like we can activate the skate park and bring people from out of town and celebrate skateboarding. But I think to answer the question in a simple matter, the Olympics in LA 2028 is putting skateboarding in front of billions of people worldwide. The sports got introduced
Yeah.
in Tokyo in 2021. So both climbing, skateboarding, surfing, then breakdancing was added in the Paris Games. I was there in Paris. The energy in the festival zone of the urban sports plateau, they call it, where you had basketball and skateboarding and BMX and whatnot, was electric. I think the Olympic Games really kind of brought back a lot of the youth attention thanks to action sports. And I think everyone in the industry who's been following up really closely said the hype is going to start in Tokyo. There's going to be some buzz in Paris with the games with action sports, but the true party is going to be in LA 2028 because that's the birthplace of skateboarding. So after the games in LA, there's also Brisbane in 2032. So Brisbane
Yeah.
or Australia has a huge skateboarding and surfing culture. So for us, being in the space now of skateboarding and action sports culture with Jackalope for 14, 15 years, this is a dream come true in terms of momentum, right? There's people that are
Yeah.
going to be seeing and hearing about those sports either for the first time or being reintroduced. There's a huge momentum in the female aspect of the sport. And there's a lot of youth, like 12, 14, 15-year-old that are crushing it, and it's pissing off the older guys or older folks. So there's some drama, there's some youth, there's some excitement, there's the Olympic momentum, and there's a lot of cities that own a skate park that they don't know what to do about it, that they never hosted an event or even considered hosting an event at their skate park, and they don't know if it's usable or not. So I'm just there to say, like, hey, you know what? If you want to celebrate skateboarding and jump on the bandwagon of that Olympic wave of momentum that's happening, definitely Jackalope can help. And I've been having great conversation both in the US and internationally, like we were discussing earlier before, traveling like crazy, going to all those different shows. But I think the hype is real, and now Jackalope has the legitimacy to export worldwide. We've already done it in Australia, Canada, and the US. So let's go.
It's incredible, and I love this conversation is actually coming right after USA Handball, who's in a very similar situation in terms of taking advantage of the momentum and growing the sport leading up to LA 28, and just the incredible opportunity to really bring awareness, educate, and put on as many events as possible before that time frame, because there's really no better time than now, as you say. And so when a destination or a host city is sitting across from you in a conversation about hosting one of your events, I know there's multiple. And so, what do you most want them to understand about what they're bringing to their community?
It's a great question, and the majority of the meeting that I've been doing, at sports CTA teams or other events in the speed dating or matchmaking windows is really about figuring out if action sports can play a role in inspiring the community and bringing value for their stakeholders. So not every destination is looking at the same things in terms of what they need, what they have in terms of resources, budget, value in kind, and whatnot. Our events are free to the public, so we do need, host cities to support financially and also in value in kind. We have different scale. We have the small, medium, large, or X large type of format, and we can always customize based on the resources and the needs. But I think it's about finding that balance of, hey, this is super cool. This is very visual. This is going to be a marketing statement. It's going to drive economic impact. It's going to drive room nights. We know it works. It's been going and it's been renewed. So, but does it make sense for your stakeholder? That's where the question usually needs answers and clarity, because it's sexy, it's visual, it's attractive. There's not a lot of events like Jackalope or the ones that we produce around the world. So when there's one happening somewhere, the fans flock in. And then they create so much content that the marketing value is enormous. But then it's got to be valued to the stakeholders and the destination. So if a destination is only going to look at Jackalope purely from a room night perspective, I usually respectfully say maybe that's not the right fit, because you got to value the marketing impact as well, because the share of voice, the brand positioning, the brand recognition of your destination is going to benefit from that. But can you value that as part of the mix? Um,
Yep.
so that's where, like, for us, it's about finding the right partner that value, yes, the heads and beds, the economic impacts, but also sees the benefit of hosting a very visual event and a marketing statement such as a Jackalope.
Totally. I think it's the buy-in. I mean, everything that led to that answer was that there's so much more to your event than just people showing up and participating. It's the overall experience that you're providing as an organization. And so the importance of a buy-in from a host city, I think, is so much more than just the typical heads and beds type of situation. And so from a operational fit, I know you mentioned that there might be some cities that have skate parks that they don't know what to do with it. But is there anything that you're providing on your end so that maybe it's just we just need street space or we just need open field? Could you speak a little bit more on the operation side of things?
Yeah, for sure. So we can basically do everything and anything from A to Z. Like, we're an event production company, and we've worked with spaces where, like in Australia, we're utilizing an existing skate park. The city invested already in a beautiful skate park. It's a landmark in front of the ocean front. So we didn't really need to build anything. We utilized what was there. In some case, like in Virginia Beach, we're by the ocean front. There's no infrastructure that we can use. We're on sand. So we need to bring our own infrastructure. We have a ramp. We build a custom skate park. We pour concrete, and everything is set up for a couple of days and removed right after, because there's another event on the ocean front every weekend, right? So some destinations will say, we want to showcase this beautiful city landmark or that backdrop. In Ventura, California, we're in the middle of a street in a downtown setting, downtown Ventura, and we're in front of City Hall. And the city is fully behind this event that we're putting together, that they're removing light pole, those light poles that are in the concrete. Like, so they're removing the light poles. We're working with all the businesses to celebrate, action sport. They had X Game for 2 years, which was a totally different beast, a ticketed event, a mega event, a legacy event. And now, we're launching in California, and we're using the street. So to your point, we're bringing everything, we're trucking, setting up, and obviously building has more costs involved with it. Like, so if you need to build on the spot or prefab, or we need to basically create a festival zone in a space that never had a festival before, then we're dealing with more cost, and we will work with our partners to keep the cost as low as possible. But at the end of the day, everything's possible. It depends on what's the story that the destinations want to tell. If we can reuse some existing infrastructure, great. But if there's a better location, a better site, and it might need a bit more production, well, let's figure it out together, and let's work the best win-win situation for everyone.
I think that's great for a potential host city to know, is just the willingness to be creative in terms of how you make it the best event experience possible. And you mentioned Virginia Beach is a great example of one that really understood that. And you guys had 32,000 plus attendees. And your last one, I know you renewed for 2028. What made that destination relationship work so well from the start?
Oh, that was an instant match made in heaven. I'm not sure if that's the way you say it, but that was
Yeah.
pretty epic. Like, long story short, I was I think Sports CTA in Birmingham, Alabama, a few years
Okay.
back, and
Yep.
I was doing all the speed dating appointments during the trade show, and I didn't have Virginia Beach on my list, but I had the
Okay.
state of Virginia. So the Danish from the state of Virginia invited me
Yep.
to a function that an evening and say, hey, you should come and grab a few drinks and meet some of our destination partners. I had two evening function, one with another state, one with the state of Virginia. It was late. It was 7:30 p.m. I
Yeah.
was tired, and I just hopped in an Uber and went to that dive bar in the middle of nowhere in Birmingham, Alabama, to meet the rest of the folks that were still there. There was like still a couple chips and salsa and some food, but it was like 20 minutes before it was done. But I bumped into the folks from Visit Virginia Beach, Danny and Bill.
Okay.
Awesome people. We hit it off instantly. I told them about Jackalope. They've already heard about it. And 3 months later, literally the mayor announced a 3-year deal in front of the State
Well,
of the City address. And that was the first 3 years for 2023, 2025. We brought Tony Hawk as a headliner to really establish what Jackalope is, and the power of Tony's brand really helped us. We had a guy, his name is Chad Caruso. He skated across America from Venice Beach, California. He pushed every inch of those, I think, 3,000 miles, skated on a skateboard for 57 days straight to Virginia Beach and arrived a week before the festival to kick off
oh
things.
my
That was a
God.
Guinness World Record. He's doing it again starting May
Uh,
1st this year. And it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be live.
okay.
But that's the power of building the brand, building the relationship. And something that kind of stood up when we talked earlier was being based in Canada, and
Yeah.
that Canadian angle, the Canadian tourism angle, was kind of important for the destination and for Virginia Beach. So when they said we want to bring back Canadians because the border was closed for a few years, they told me about the surf culture. They have one of, I think, the longest lasting surf contests in the world, the ECSC, East
Okay.
Coast Surfing World Championship, going for 60 years straight. Skate culture is deep in Virginia Beach since the 80s. Tony Hawk was there in the 80s as well. So skate surf culture is like deep in the roots of VB. Pharrell Williams is from there. Now they have like a brand new wave park, artificial wave garden, where they have like it's a surf venue. It's a, I think, $250 million surf facility in Virginia Beach where you can surf all year long. But I think these are just examples of how it made so much sense for Virginia Beach to host something like Jackalope. And a lot of people told us that this was the event they always wanted, and the timing was just right when we crossed paths. And I think that's a testament to anyone's listening that you got to show up, because it would have been easy for me, to just say I'm tired, I'm going to sit it on this one and not go to this function, and life would be very different. So it's always good to say yes. I'm a big believer in saying yes to life and saying yes to opportunities. And I want to thank Bill and Danny for believing in me, and also everyone involved in the city of Virginia Beach, because they were a true first one to really believe in us in the US. In 2025, the mayor kind of, announced 3 more years. So we're launching May 29th to May 31st, what we call the fourth edition. And now we have 2026, 2027, and 2028, which are the 3 years leading up to LA 2028
Oh,
in Virginia Beach.
that's awesome. And I love that advice too. It's probably why I look like I have bags under my eyes right now. But I was just at a conference, and I really think it's important to take every opportunity while you're in those spaces to build better relationships, because those days are really long at conferences. And so I think some of the biggest, relationship builders and opportunities really come from the after sessions. And so that's a great story that I'm going to tell my organization to remind them
Yeah,
when we're off.
you gotta keep showing up, and
Yeah,
sometimes like everyone's tired, and I think it's also about feeling the vibe. Like if you have a hinge, then you like, I want to go. Like on Monday, I'm jumping on a plane to LA for a conference that I'm attending. It's a 2-day conference, basically a 6-hour flight back and forth. Like, from Montreal, LAX is a direct flight, but still a 6-hour flight. And
yeah,
I'm like, I have a feeling that I got to go. So I'm
yeah,
going on a feeling, and I'm attending that event. And sometimes life is like that. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But I think the majority of the time I've been right. So I'm sticking to let's show up.
yeah. Uh, that's awesome. And uh, from a technology side, I know you've used Playeasy now to submit your RPs. And so how has that changed the way you approach in finding new markets and business and building those early destination relationships?
I think it's a beautiful tool, to be frank, and I want to commend you for pushing the boundaries of Playeasy, and thank you for the podcast. That opportunity is awesome. From a technology standpoint, I've loved how easy it was to really kind of upload everything and put it out there. And I would pretty much instantly, I received feedback from destinations. The majority of them were like, no, we don't have a skate park, or it doesn't really fit. But some were like, hey, let's talk and let's explore. So I think it's super cool to see how engaged the Playeasy community is on the tool. And a few years ago, we had our documents uploaded on there, but we didn't really push it, and we didn't really emphasize it. And when my colleague left and I took over her role, I started to really dig into like the Playeasy tool and talk with Ryan, and then and then try to make the most out of it, and also bring something new and something fresh. I don't think there's a lot of action sports property or rights holder in there. So I try to really showcase some of the photos, some of what we need to make it work. And I know our hosting fees might be more expensive than others, but again, it's just the nature of the beast. These are outdoor free events, no ticketing, and we need that destination support to make it work. But when we have trust, and when we do have a destination partner, we deliver. And I think the renewal of Virginia Beach is a testament, like others, that when you invest in action sport, it actually pay off.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's really interesting about your event, especially as we see just high costs to get into events, is that you have kept it free. Why has that been so important to you, and what Tribu stands for?
We've done like free since the beginning, but we've tested the paid model with ticketing for a couple of years. And the reality was we rather have a free outdoor event where people spend those 20 or $50 that we would try to hustle to get out of their pocket for a ticket and get that money invested in the hotel, bars, and restaurants, and just get more people through the door, frankly, because we were talking about music earlier. Like a lot of people are used to pay for a music festival, show, or concert, whatever, and you can gauge from the artist names how much you're willing to pay personally as a consumer, right? But for action sports, if I told you, hey, it's a skateboarding event or it's a ski, and like, how much is it worth to you as a consumer? Is it $5? Is it $20? Is it $50? So to kind of overspend on marketing, fencing, security, programming, and all that to then try to justify and educate the market. After what we've discovered is um, there's people who are doing it that way, and we respect that, but we want to stay different and more accessible, and we want more people through the gate. Like our events range from 25,000 to 60,000 people in a weekend. Even if it was $5, that number would drastically be reduced. Thus, there'll be less people who actually spend money in the bar, hotel, and the restaurants. So for us, it's like, let's keep it free. Let's keep it accessible. We do have premium experience, hospitality, learn to skate. You can actually pay if you want to skate the skate park, but not actually compete. And I think something I want to mention is all of our events is open for registration. So anyone can just sign a waiver and compete, where other events in our industry, you got to be invited to compete. So this is really kind of an open invitation, and it's as frictionless as possible, meaning anyone can just walk in. You can bring your friends, your family, whatever, and it's free. Sit in the bleacher, have fun, and you can sign up, you can compete, you can, some kids come with their family from Australia, Japan, Brazil, Europe, and when they show up, they make it a vacation. So instead of, giving us 10, 20, $50 a head for a ticket, they're spending that money in the bar, hotel, and restaurants. And I think that's also just a way to keep it accessible and inclusive.
Yeah, and also just a measure of success on top of that, and I think
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
great. And so to just finish us out, there's a lot of talk within our industry about experiential marketing, but you've really built a career doing it at the highest level now. And so, what does it look like when it's done right, and not just for the brand, but for every attendee in the crowd?
It's a good question, and when you send those notes, I was like, "How am I going to answer this?" So I'm going to
Yeah.
try to give it a shot. But by all means, I don't think we're perfect. But you're right. We did, made a career and a statement with the business, because the name of the business is Tribu Experiential. I come from a experiential marketing background, so we were blessed to work with Ubisoft, the video game company, produce their biggest esports tournament on the white label basis. We work with telecommunication brand, energy drink brand. So we were doing brand activation for insurance company, cars company, you name it. For the first 10 years of the company, it was a mix of Jackalope and our brands, and working for other brands, building their own brand and reputation. So to answer the question, with the background and some experience, I feel now more and more destination are thinking of themselves as a brand and not just
Yeah.
as a logo and as a host community. They're really thinking on their brand guidelines, because every city, when you think about it, are competing against every other cities around the world now for not just heads and beds, but also for talent, employees or students and whatnot. And yes, tourism is a big driver, but I think every city is a brand, and I think more and more destinations are starting to understand that part, and they're really careful on their messaging, not just their website and social media, but the overall ecosystem. So when we talk about experiential marketing, or when we talk about brand voice, and when we talk about we're helping build destinations brand and
Yeah.
make a statement by hosting Jackalope, what is signal is, to some extent, Canadians are welcome to your destinations if you want to play down that lane. If
Yeah.
you don't, you can just say, well, we're a youth, active, family oriented destination. that's a statement because hosting Jackalope is what it will visually kind of communicate. And I think the best way to deliver experience is to think of every touch point, from the website to the social media post to the tickets you get if you're a ticketed event, or in our case the VIP pass people buy in or whatnot, to the welcome note at the hotel, and working with our hotel partners to make sure there's a small Jackalope gift to our invited athletes on their bed. And we go the extra mile, you might say, by welcoming our invited athletes with our own chauffeur and our own buses at the airport. We bring them from door to door, basically not everyone, but really just the invited athletes that are part of the roster and the marketing campaign. And sometimes it makes a difference. A lot of these athletes don't even have any support to other large scale action sports festival, without naming any. It's basically, here's the event, show up and do your best. Well, for
Yeah.
us, it's about, we'll help with the hotel, we'll help with the airfare, we'll pick you up at the airport, we'll give you a hug when you arrive, we'll give you a hug when you leave. There'll be candy and good music in the bus. There'll be a water. If you fall and get injured, we'll bring you to the hospital ourselves. Like, we really try to go the extra mile because we believe that this is a team success. It might sound cheesy, but that's what it is, right? Like,
Yeah.
we need athletes to perform to then attract the fans, and we need the fans and the athletes to attract the sponsors, and we need that whole ecosystem to bring the host destination to the table to say, hey, Jackalope is 50,000 people in a weekend. 20% of those are coming from out of town minimum. They're going to spend X. This is the number of room nights. And all those numbers make sense if you truly have a community. Even if it's a buzzword, it is what it is. We call it the Jackalope crew. Jackalope crew is everyone that's helping, from the volunteer, the staff, the sponsor, the host, and the athletes. Well, we need the athletes.
Yeah. I'm so happy I asked that question, because I think there's so many points within that answer that we could have just a full podcast on. Specifically, on top of mind, we just launched a new brand called Compass that is exactly that. You need to think about every touch point that you have with a
Mm-hmm.
participant or visitor coming to your city, and it's so important now to invest in each of those touch points and to figure out how to capitalize on that. And so I think we definitely should have another whole conversation just on that, because I think it's really important, and I think it's really important to be having those types of conversations within our space.
Yeah, I would love to share if you want to invite me to another conference down the road and share some of
Yeah,
our learning, because like, by all means, like I said, we're not perfect. Like, yeah. And I would say, if you come to Jackalope, it's rough on the edges by design. It's a free outdoor event, so it's not going to be squeaky clean. Like if you're going to the US Open of tennis, or if you're going to
yeah,
Wimbledon or whatever, like, so it's going to be rough on the edges because it's a free outdoor event. But
yeah,
I think every touch point, yes, needs to be controlled to the best of the capabilities of any organization. And this year, as an example, we're launching a mobile app, custom Jackalope mobile app, on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. And something that really came to mind of the why was, to that aspect, is like, hey, we're outdoor, there's some weather delays. How do we tell our fans? So previously we would
yeah,
do social media posts, and then it'd be kind of flooded in the 10 different stories or posts that we have during this weekend that, hey guys, there's a weather delay, stay tuned. Or we try to shout it on the microphone, guys, we're coming back live in 2 hours, whatever. So just from a simple production and communication aspect, if you're at the event and you don't know what the hell's going on because it's raining or there's a forecast, and then you got to go dig, I think having a mobile app is kind of a central touch point where we can now send to everyone who's going to download it. Obviously, we can send a push notification. So you get on your phone, hey guys, weather delay, stay tuned. We'll be back with more updates. So instead of having, it's a Google or Instagram or Facebook, like, as a middleman from
yeah,
events right holder to your fans, and controlling that narrative and controlling that information, that flow of information, I think taking control of how do you talk to your consumers really just is an example of how you can, I guess, maintain the relationship and build on that with your crew, your community.
Totally. And I'm now officially inviting you to our summit this summer, June
Yay!
15th to 17th. And we should talk about that because I think that's something important. I think not only destinations, but other organizations would love to talk through. So we'll talk after this on that. But
Love
just
it.
to wrap us up, what has been the biggest lesson you've learned during this journey?
Wow, this is a
Yes.
big one too. The journey is, I feel, is just beginning, but as an entrepreneur, and you might relate, there's some highs and lows. The pandemic was a big low, but was also a big high. And I think the biggest learning was just perspective. As an example, in the middle of the pandemic, like I was having tough conversation with my wife and about like, are we going to go bankrupt? And then are we going to lose the condo or whatever? And these were like tough pillow talks because it took me a while to really just bring it up to her and be like, you know what, I don't know what's going to happen. Like events are done and like, who knows how long it's going to last. And we're going into like so many financial stress that shit might hit the fan for real. Like, so having this tough conversation and having the courage to also, entertain the worst case scenario, but having also the courage to zoom out the situation was the biggest learning. And the reason why was I went before the pandemic on a somewhat of a Shark Tank type of TV show. So in Canada, we call it Dragon's Den. Same concept. I go in front, I pitch, investors invest, and blah, blah, blah. So I had sold the company, 25% of the company before the pandemic. And during the pandemic, since everything was kind of in some ways worthless, I bought back 25% of my company for a symbolic amount. So I now own 100% of the company. And with perspective, now that we have the growth mode, Virginia Beach, the renewal, the post-pandemic momentum, the California launch, the Australia success, like we've proved that we can deliver an event at the other side of the world. Like Australia from Montreal is 25-hour flight. Like they're not hiring us to show them how to produce a skateboarding event in Australia. They're hiring us or investing in us because they recognize the marketing impact for North America to position Newcastle as a destination in the skateboarding space. So with everything now in perspective, it was pretty dark days during the pandemic, and there were still others. But I think keeping that perspective has always been a big lesson in my humble career. Was there's always a bigger opportunity around the corner. You just need to zoom out to kind of take a good look at it. And that's cheesy, but that's
Yeah.
real.
It not cheesy, it's real, and something I'm gonna remind myself of that too when things get really hard. It's always good to be able to take a step back and think, why are you doing what you're doing? And really believing and, you know, you're in the right direction. So, Micah, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. If anyone wants to reach out, connect, or wants to get involved with one of your events, how should they do so?
Easy, like jackalope.co, jackalope.co, tribu.co. My email is on Playeasy, all my info, Micah at tribu.co. Yeah, I'm easy to find. If you put my name on Google, you'll find me too, Micah Desforges. But I would love just to learn more about the industry as a whole. I've been, blessed to be in the industry for like I would say 7-8 years now in the US and going to sports CTA and teams and now kind of growing my network outside of the US and internationally. But by all means, if my humble experience can help other rights holder, or even if there's destination that they feel that this could be something worth exploring, let's let's talk. I I would love to see what people have in mind, and I think it's all about co-creating. We both work in an industry where we're creating magic out of thin air. Like it's hard to explain to someone what an event is, like, and how it can be meaningful and impactful in someone's destinations. But I think it needs like-minded people, and this is an open invitation to anyone who's listening. If you listen all the way to this point, you definitely have an open invitation to pick my brain and Kerri's brain, if for that matter, on how we can grow this industry and maybe work together.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Micah, so much, and thanks everyone. Until next time, we'll see you.